into it. So we've got some fun updates when it comes to the letter that Alan Jackson wrote asking for the commissioner of the Boston PD to be put on the Brady list. We're going to do a little bit of a rewind. I'm going to tell you guys what happened there. We're going to hear from Michael Cox, and he finally responded to Alan Jackson. He had enough of it, and we're going to listen to what he had to say here. But before we do that, I want to give you a rewind and hear what Michael Cox had to say when he originally found out that his name was being brought up with Officer Dever. His name was being brought up during the Karen Reed trial, and he was not happy about it. If you haven't seen this, check this out.
Your name came up during the recent Karen Reed trial. You got a visit from Officer Kelly Dever. The defense implied that you influenced your testimony. Do you want to respond to that?
I have nothing to do with Karen Reed. Matter of fact, I didn't even know this person was associated with the Karen Reed case. You know, I have an organization full of over 3,000 people, and we support all our folks. And the reality is that, I get information passed on, whether people are high or low, and I encourage everyone, right?
And we found out later that that was a lie, because there was an email that was shown, and Alan Jackson's going to go over it, that there had been correspondence not only between the FBI and Michael Cox, but Michael Cox knew that Kelly Dever was involved in the Karen Reed trial. Not only that, but shortly after he got an email about Kelly Dever being involved in the Karen Reed trial, he booked an appointment with Kelly Dever. Hey, Kelly, let me talk to you for a second. Bold-faced lie in 4K, Michael Cox. Come on, man.
If you're going to work here and you belong here, then we're going to encourage you. I have no idea what they're talking about with Karen Reed. It had nothing to do with Karen Reed. No discussion about
Did you tell Officer Dever to do the right thing?
I didn't know she was even associated with that case. So, I don't know. I was struck, like, what do I have to do with the Karen Reed race? I never had said those words together. And so the fact is, it's much to do about nothing. We have employees here that we have to develop and encourage and do things, and I do that for tons of our employees.
Do you feel that you were inappropriately drawn into this?
That case is over, and we've got a lot of other stuff to talk about. I have nothing to do with Karen Reed. I was in the state of Michigan.
Yeah, well, he lied, because now we found out Alan Jackson filed this letter, and here's what was found in the letter. I'm actually going to review the letter for you guys before we hear from what Michael Cox had to say in response to this letter from AJ. Check this out.
Developments in the aftermath of the Karen Reed case. Investigative reporter Ted Daniel joining us now. Ted, as we first reported just 30 minutes ago, this has to do with Boston police.
Rachel, 25 Investigates has a copy of a letter Karen Reed's attorney, Alan Jackson, sent to Boston Mayor Michelle Wu and the head of the Post Commission. The letter is scathing. In it, Reed's defense team calls out the head of the Boston Police Department.
I have nothing to do with Karen Reed. Matter of fact, I didn't even know this person was associated with a Karen Reed.
The letter talks about comments Commissioner Michael Cox made to reporters about Reed and then Boston police officer Kelly Dever, who testified in Reed's retrial. Dever spoke about a meeting she had with Cox prior to her testimony.
Saying a meeting with Cox, we got to find a better way. Either way.
Cox was asked about all of this in July.
I didn't know she was even associated with that case. So, I don't know. I was struck, like, what do I have to do with the Karen Reed race? I never had said those words together. And so the fact is, it's much to do about nothing.
Jackson's letter.
Okay, so we're going to get into Jackson's letter. So that's basically the breakdown. And I want to reread this letter for y'all because it's just so good. It's so good what Alan Jackson said. And if you missed it, you're in for a treat. And we're going to get into what Michael Cox had to say in response shortly. What did AJ say? He wrote this to the mayor and the director. This is absolutely amazing. Boston Police Commissioner Michael Cox has been caught in a lie, and not a small one. On July 10th of 2025, Commissioner Cox publicly denied any connection to the Karen Reed case or to Officer Kelly Dever, as he said. He was asked about the allegation that he met with Dever before she was called to testify in the first Reed trial in 2024, and he told her to do the right thing. In his unequivocal denial, Michael Cox said what we heard from him before. I'm not going to repeat it because y'all just heard it twice. AJ goes on to say those statements were false, patently false. Commissioner Cox, the head of the Boston Police Department, actually asked, "What do I have to do with the Karen Reed case?" What? The answer is obvious. One of his officers was dead, murdered, and the victim's body was discovered in the front lawn of another Boston police officer. For the commissioner to suggest that he had nothing to do with this case or with that case defies both logic and leadership. Common sense tells us he had everything to do with it. Newly obtained evidence proves that Cox knowingly misrepresented his involvement. On February 22nd of last year, the FBI's Boston field office sent Commissioner Cox an email explicitly referencing Dever and the Reed investigation. So he lied. Michael Cox lied. The email from Assistant Special Agent in Charge Stephen Kelleher said to Commissioner Cox this: "Just a reminder, the documents were released to the DA's office late last night. The officer we spoke about is Kelly Dever." Guess what happened the next day? The very next day, on February 23rd, 2024 at 11 a.m., Michael Cox's official calendar lists a meeting with Officer Kelly Dever. Is it a coincidence? I don't believe in coincidences. Exactly as Dever would later testify and Cox would deny. The timeline is indisputable. Cox televised claimed that he had nothing to do with Karen Reed and that he didn't even know the person Kelly Dever was associated with the Karen Reed case was a bold-faced lie. One now disproven by documentary evidence originating from the Federal Bureau of Investigation itself. The FBI said, "Hey man, we're still trying to figure out what happened to John O'Keefe. Y'all go ahead and have this email." As head of law enforcement agency, Commissioner Cox is an officer pursuant to the Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 6E, Section 1. When a police commissioner lies about his own contacts with the FBI and with meeting with an implicated officer, he forfeits the credibility and integrity his oath requires. That is the very definition of a Brady Giglio violation. Under Brady versus Maryland and Giglio versus the United States, prosecutors have an affirmative duty to disclose any evidence of dishonesty by a governing or a government witness or official in every case where the official might either testify or influence the testimony or evidence provided by others. Commissioner Cox now fits squarely within this category. And Alan Jackson's right. We can see it for our own eyes. And if Michael Cox wants to deny that, we've got bigger issues. Accordingly, Commissioner Cox must be referred for immediate inclusion on the Brady list maintained by the Suffolk County District Attorney's Office. In addition, the Post Commission must initiate a full disciplinary review for dishonesty, lack of candor, and conduct unbecoming an officer under Department Policy 102, which mandates that employees shall conduct themselves at all times, both on and off duty, in such a manner as to reflect most favorably on the department. Yikes. This is not a political issue. It is a question of credibility and public trust. Not only that, but it's a question of, is Boston going to get anything right? We've got state troopers, the commissioner, local Canton PD. I mean, we're going to be talking about Sandra Birchmore later. The whole thing is a mess, man. When Boston's top law enforcement officer lies about his own knowledge of a case under federal scrutiny, the stain spreads across the entire system. Accountability cannot stop at the commissioner's door. The people of Massachusetts deserve law enforcement leaders who tell the truth, not those who hide behind it. In light of the documented evidence now in the public record, there is only one reasonable course. Add Commissioner Cox to the Brady list, open an immediate post inquiry, and this man needs to be fired. I said AJ didn't say that. AJ didn't say that. I'm gonna say it because that's what he meant. Michael Cox, the commissioner, has had enough. He finally responded to what Alan Jackson said in this letter. You guys are gonna get to hear it from him yourself. Check this out.
Meantime, Karen Reed's defense attorney, Alan Jackson, sent Mayor Wu a scathing letter calling on Boston Police Commissioner Michael Cox to be placed on Boston's Brady list. Now, the Brady list is used by prosecutors to track police officers who have engaged in misconduct or have credibility issues. Here's what the commissioner had to say that you won't hear on any other station.
But what I need, it's not to be asked this question ever again, because hasn't pertained to anything to do with the police department.
He said, stop asking me. Why you guys asking me this again? Poor Michael Cox. Yeah, we're going to ask you if you lie, sir. You lied. You got caught. Either AJ's lying or you're lying. And I highly doubt that an email we've been able to see from the FBI, from their local office right there in Boston, is fabricated. Maybe he had a false memory, right, guys? Maybe he was thinking, oh, I met with Dever before and not after they contacted me. That's probably what it is. Maybe he got some insight
that you
from
won't
Kelly.
hear on any other station.
But what I need, it's not to be asked this question ever again, because hasn't pertained to anything to do with the police department. My condolences to the O'Keefe family for what they've gone through, and because we did lose the department member. But outside of that, this has nothing to do with us. And I'm
He
not
didn't say
going to
that the
speak on
first
it
time.
again.
Police commissioner also debunked rumors that he is stepping down before or after the election. He denied those allegations.
All right. Well, do y'all think he should? Some would say yes, that he should. Let's move on and see what they said in this article. And shout out to Boston News 25. They said the list. Karen Reed's defense attorney, Alan Jackson, sent the mayor, Michelle Wu, a scathing letter calling on Boston police commissioner, Michael Cox, to be placed on the Brady list. The list is used by prosecutors to track police officers who engage in misconduct or have credibility issues. He said, what I need is to not be asked this question ever again pertaining to anything to do with the police department. What? Again, we just heard it, but to read it makes it even crazier. He said, stop asking me about this when it pertains to the police department. Sir, you are the police department. You're Mr. Police Department. My condolences to the O'Keefe family. He finally says that and all the other BS. What do y'all think about Commissioner Michael Cox? Is he the next one to be placed on administrative leave or resign? So many people are saying, well, that doesn't mean they're fired. This whole situation is bad, and I think there's going to be more as a result of this. We're going to get into what other dominoes are falling as a result of this entire situation. Make sure y'all stay tuned for that. Michael Cox said, why are y'all so mean to me?